Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Max with a hurt back and barely can walk gets the game, tying hit with 2 strikes and 2 outs on him there in the top of the ninth. It's an incredible baseball game to be a part of, and our guys found a way to win.
And now that all that stuff's over, and that was my message to Taj, now that all the people criticizing and all that stuff is behind you, it's about getting back to work.
What a baseball game last night if you stayed up and watched it, and Dabo Sweeney there as well. You heard Chad Holbrook and Dabo Sweeney, our 2 voices, out of the gate here on a Friday episode of Sports Talk. Kevin McCrary and the Professor Tom Hayes holding it down. Corn with the night off. Glad to be with you tonight. Hope everybody is doing well. We're excited to be spending a couple of hours with you to lead you right into what's going to be an outstanding weekend. We've got more baseball coming up tonight. The regular season winding down, just 2 games left now, and boy, that game last night on ESPNU, if you were like me, you didn't realize it was on ESPNU until very late, but if you tuned in late or at all, you were treated to a heck of a ball game. Really vintage South Carolina baseball, the way they performed in big games in Omaha. That game kind of had that feel. Big defensive play with Tanner English throwing a guy out at the plate in the bottom of the 9th inning to keep the game alive, and then the solo shot in the 10th by Joey Pancake, a laser that got out of the park. But before that, Max Schrock limping off the bench with 2 strikes and 2 outs. He gets a base hit to tie the game at 3. A lot of different dynamics.
Yeah, visions of Kirk Gibson limping to the plate for the Dodgers and hitting home run against Oakland.
And he's been doing that all season. He limped off the bench and hit a home run to win a game earlier in the season in SEC play. He's been dinged up all season. He's back, but not 100%. In fact, we can tell you he is not going to play tonight and probably isn't going to play tomorrow night either. He is very sore, and they're trying to get him back. I don't know how much Chad Holbrook's going to use him at the SEC tournament, to be quite honest with you. And he told us last week that he's going to have to use him in spots and decide when he wants to use him and how he wants to use him. He's not ready to be an everyday player right now and probably won't be until next year when he's 100% healthy. He's just been dinged up. He's been kind of snake bit when it comes to injuries throughout his career, but even hurt, he's a very, very good player. So the Gamecocks get a huge win there. That's big for them, and the fact that it gets them win number 41. And a lot of eyes on that game, Pro. The committee probably watching that game. The Gamecocks trying to slide into a top 8 national seed. I think they're in very good shape to host a regional, assuming they don't go into a complete funk here over the next 2 games and into Hoover and go 0-2 and barbecue. That could make things dicey, but they're in pretty good shape to get a host spot. Clemson clinched a spot in the ACC tournament with a win last night over Boston College. Now the Tigers trying to solidify themselves as a definite postseason team, and they can do that with a couple more wins over BC. We're going to jump into things. Lots of news to pass along. We'll get your phone calls as well. It's a Friday episode of Sports Talk on South Carolina Radio Network.
All right, so the only thing I have planned as of right now is Monty at 7:30, correct? Crap, I didn't turn you off. What'd you say? Sorry. He never gave me one. Did he tell you he wanted to try to get in touch with him? He didn't mention it to me. I know all the sites for reference only got the coach. Like, they didn't even get a story out of him, so. How was prom, bro? Must be from Australia. Everybody wants their face out there. Then the internet is the back of your car or somewhere. Oh boy, Ibaka's done. Rematch. God, that sucks. He blew out his calf last night. Yeah, this can be a rematch. I think they're undefeated against him this year. You can't walk. Stand by.
Is there anything on your mind tonight? Give us a call, 800-956-7266. We get busy here on the program with a lot of guests and information and things. We do appreciate your phone calls. We are not caller-driven on Sports Talk. We're content-driven, but we do appreciate audience participation. So if you have something on your mind, feel free to chime in, 800-956-7266. A lot of different topics that we can kick around. Of course, the NFL draft now completely in the books. Who is going to make the bigger impact next year, Sammy Watkins or Jadeveon Clowney?
Well, it depends on the quarterback situation at Buffalo. I know the kid from Florida State was hot and cold, but that offensive line is kind of shaky. Buffalo, you don't know in the East. You really don't. The Jets, you don't know what they're doing. Miami might be a little bit better. I know their quarterback situation, Tannehill, is comfortable because he's got his college coach who's the offensive coordinator, so he's playing the same position or the same terminology that he used at Texas A&M. So I'm not certain, but he'll get a bunch of chances because I think they're going to use him on end rounds, short digs in the slot on the outside. So Sammy Watkins is going to get a lot of chances.
And the other question, post-draft, that we can kick around now that they're starting the mini camps with a lot of these rookies going to work, will Connor Shaw make the Cleveland Browns roster? He and Tyler Thigpen will be battling it out to make a roster spot there. They've already cut Vince Young, so that's bad for Vince Young, but good for Tyler Thigpen and Connor Shaw that they want to give those youngsters an opportunity. Where Johnny Manziel get the starting job, they're not going to hand it to him. They're going to make him win that job. Also, you heard Dabo Swinney talking about Taj Boyd. Now, Dabo's never one to shy away from high praise for his former players and his quarterbacks, and he's done that with Taj Boyd. He's on the record as saying Tosh Boyd is going to be a franchise quarterback for whoever drafts him. Now, that was before the NFL draft. We now know it's the New York Jets. They have signed Boyd to a 4-year contract worth $2.3 million. Now, of course, we know only the signing bonus is fully guaranteed up front. But if the rookie stays on the Jets roster, his salary next season will be $420,000, rising each ensuing season to $510,000 to $600,000 to $690,000 in 2017 if he remains active. That's the bitter pill with the NFL. And, most people know this, but some of you might not. The only thing you are guaranteed is that signing bonus. So, you look at that contract and go, wow, Tosh Boyd just made $4 million, good, or $2 million, good for him. The only thing that he's guaranteed, $78,000. Now, that's not chump change by any stretch of the imagination. $78,000 is a good little piece of money for you.
A lot of resumes with $78,000.
But, when that's all, he could get cut after the third preseason game, and that's all he's going to walk away with is this $78,000. So he's got a lot on the line to make the team. Now, Pro, you were reading a story with Rex Ryan, who's an interesting figure to say the least. Now, he was saying that Tosh Boyd is 100% a quarterback now, but he seemed to open the possibility up that maybe Tosh will play another position.
It's a article I saw. I guess he was talking to the media earlier today, and I just happened to read this blurb from NFL.com. So I don't know what other position he'll play.
What?
It's the same thing that they talked about some years ago, and it was interesting because they were talking about the evolution of the black quarterback then, and Warren Moon said one of the reasons he stayed at quarterback is the fact that he couldn't play another position. He was not athletic enough to play another position, where a lot of black quarterbacks were being moved to other positions. He couldn't move because he was. Tosh Boyd is a quarterback. Obviously, he can run out of the pocket, out of the spread, but as we talked off the air, he opened himself up some vicious shots in his playing time. Never missed a game, but still, he took some big hits and got his bell rung.
Early in his career, especially. Now, he developed into a very good runner. I don't think he was a great running quarterback. I still think I would describe him as more of a pocket passer. Chad Morris encouraged him to run more before his junior season, and he incorporated that into his game, and it became a huge asset. That's when that offense really took off. He showed that in that first game against Auburn at the Georgia Dome, where he eluded some tackles and picked up some first downs running, and he had a 100-yard running game against NC State in the Textile Bowl his junior year. He became a much better runner. Now, that being said, I don't see Tosh Boyd as a guy that's going to go into the NFL and be a dynamic playmaker, as Pope was making a point in the pre-show. He's not Cam Newton out there. This isn't a guy that you're going to be running the zone read with in the NFL and expect him to pick up plays. And I don't expect it. You can't put him at running back and hand him the ball. And he's not a wide receiver. He's a quarterback. That's what Tosh Boyd is. Now, they're going to have to develop him at that spot. I do think he's going to have a huge learning curve, but I'm not going to count Tosh Boyd out just because of his personality. And the guy worked really hard at Clemson, because I'd written him off after his freshman year. In his redshirt freshman year, he redshirted, then he didn't beat out Kyle Parker for a couple years. I just said this guy didn't impress me that much, but he really came on and showed that he was a worker and is able to. He's a coachable guy, and he's an approachable guy, smart guy.
This is what's in his favor. You know why this is in his favor? This might sound crazy, but because he was drafted on the 6th round, there's a chance he can make it. Because what? Jet fans not expecting the world from him. Sanchez, Geno Smith, they ate him for lunch. If you're not coming in there and you don't look like Joe Namath from the start, forget it. And so all that pressure was on them as #1 draft choices. Boy, he comes in quiet, and he may, be developed slowly, and then may someday be that #1 quarterback for the Jets because he wasn't thrust into the pressure of being a #1 pick.
Yeah, you mentioned, Warren Moon and black quarterbacks and in that position evolving, how a lot of black quarterbacks moved to other positions. I don't recall another organization that had 3 black quarterbacks as on their roster. You know, they're top 3 guys right now. I guess you have, of course, Geno Smith, then you have Michael Vick and Taj Boyd. I don't know that I can recall it. Maybe there's been another team. I don't recall it.
There may have been another team. I can't
think of 2
remember
maybe.
one.
Yeah.
I can remember some with 2, but not 3. Yeah, the CFL. You said. Yeah, and it's
maybe the World League, but I can't remember another organization that had 3.
Well, you know, the interesting thing you mentioned, the Canadian Football League is where Flutie really became a folk hero there, and we thought maybe that Tebow would go up there. But interestingly enough, as we talked about Warren Moon not being able to play another position, Warren Moon proved to some Canadian coaches that a drop back passer could play in that offense. You know, because Hugh Campbell coached him, and of course Hugh Campbell came down to Houston and brought Warren Moon with him when he took over. So, you know, even at the Canadian Football League where you got 2 downs to make a first down, so they throw on every down, or you have to have a running quarterback. Warren Moon shows you can still be a drop back passer and play in that league.
All right, other news out of the NFL, Furman's Dakota Dozier has signed a deal with the Jets as well, a 4-year contract for him. It's worth about $2.5 million. Now, Dozier went in the 4th round, and here's the difference between going in the 4th round and the 6th round in terms of signing bonus. Taj, $78,000 for his signing bonus and a $2.3 million contract. Dakota Dozier in a $2.5 million contract, $300,000 signing bonus.
I'll take it. But I'm not
big difference there.
I'm not so certain that a lineman picked where Taj Boyd would have gotten $78,000. So maybe he got more because he's a quarterback. You never know.
And we've had a lot of people tweeting us and emailing us about Vic Hampton, USC defensive back, who, of course, came out after his junior year, was not drafted, and he has still not been signed to a free agent contract right now. So those red flags have cost Vic Beasley right now, and we'll see if somebody takes a flyer on him eventually. I need to correct myself. I think I was talking about Vic Hampton and then went into the break and said Vic Beasley. Vic Beasley, of course, wasn't drafted and hasn't been signed by anybody in the NFL because he's still at Clemson. Vic Hampton still looking for a team right now, and I think somebody will give him a chance. You know, what happened with him, and to a similar degree, an equal degree, I think, Kelsey Quarles. Quarles was a guy that got a third-round grade and came out, and most people thought he was going to go in the third round, but they were at the nightclub, and even though they were not charged with anything, just the fact that they were there and put themselves in a position to get in trouble was a huge red flag. And with Hampton, he was arrested in Columbia with the altercation, a little verbal spat with his sister where police were called, and neither one of them wanted to calm down, and I think they both ended up going to jail, Hampton and his sister there, and that's going to cost you if you're Vic Hampton. He's not a, my experience being around him, covering him, you like the guy, but he's definitely got some baggage, and NFL teams haven't been willing to go out on a limb. I wasn't shocked he wasn't drafted. I am a little surprised that somebody hasn't picked him up as a free agent just to see what he can do running around out there if he can make a play.
I think it's a combination of things. It's baggage, but it's baggage that doesn't come with a 4-3 package, and the ability to return kicks. It's interesting how if a guy has what gets you downgraded quicker than anything is the position you play, and then they see the 40 time. And Vic had a decent 40 time at Pro Day, but his 40 times have not been the best. But there are defensive backs out there that don't have tremendous 40 times, but they can cover. And I know Vic Hampton can cover and he can hit, and he may be if he gets his chance, he may be a projection pick and may have to play safety. We don't know yet.
Want more out of your education? Palmetto College offers a quality of a 4-year education online. To find out more, visit palmettocollege.sc.edu. Palmetto College, your future has no limits. USC football, another commitment today. A lot of commitments have come down the pipe this week. Clemson's picked up a couple. USC now back-to-back days with a commitment today. Offensive lineman Josie Milton out of Clinton, Louisiana, committed to the Gamecocks, 6'3", 290. It looks like USC likes him as a center, and he had over 20 offers: Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Arkansas, Arizona State, Oklahoma State, South Florida, and Southern Miss among his offers. He's the Gamecocks' 11th commitment for their 2015 class, the 4th commitment in the past 8 days for the Gamecocks' second offensive lineman to commit, and we will have a full recruiting report. No Kornblut tonight, but recruiting never takes a night off here on Sports Talk.
You don't think South Carolina and Clemson are stacking quiet commitments? Clemson just had another commitment. We need you to come out and counter this commitment. I wonder, I'm just suggesting things look a little strange. One comes out with one, two comes out, here comes another. I'm not certain. It's interesting.
Clemson getting ready to get things started at Doug Kingsmore. Cool thing they're doing. They're actually giving the diplomas out to the seniors that were in Notre Dame during graduation in the pregame.
I'm gonna need about $27.50. I've had the same thing at doctor's offices with outstanding bills. We'll cut this to about $1.20. What do you say? I'm like, yep. An outstanding debt of $300 or something. Because you realize you're paying $400 for them to go, yeah, that looks nasty. Here's a Band-Aid. Leave. Well, that cost me $400. Thanks. That's well before my time. Sure you don't want to just have a word with her and have her stop doing it? Well, Robert Mathis is playing the card. Faced many challenges in my life, and I made the mistake of trusting a doctor, and I should have called the NFLPA, but I forgot to. I'm sure you did, pal. I swear it's like we're watching some alternate universe TV channel. We have to watch this crap. It's apology after apology after Donald Sterling. When I realized I had 19 sacks at 33 and that didn't make sense, I didn't think about anything being up. See what Teddy Bruschi has to say about it.
Game, especially if Indianapolis struggles in those 4 games because you lost your most productive player on the defensive side of the ball. Ball disruption in the passing game, quarterback sacks, he
take him off the juice. He's not productive either. You see how that
works? Passing disruption lanes, everything eliminated for 4 games possible.
And he is your guy. When you talk about putting pressure on the quarterback, he is your.
But it's all about him being a football player now. Okay. Stand by.
Frank Martin wasn't kidding when he said he's going to do everything he can to create a challenging schedule. The Gamecocks are going to add Iowa State to next year's slate. They're going to play that one on a neutral site in Brooklyn. So he gets a Big 12 opponent to pad up his strength of schedule, and he gets to go to Brooklyn, go to New York City, enjoy some good food.
Get his name out there where he hitting the recruiting trail, because he goes to New York quite a bit.
He does. And, you know, this is a good thing. And, you know, the SEC, one of the big things, and you heard Ray Tanner talk about this last night in the interview with Kornblut, where their big focus is trying to make the SEC relevant in basketball. And you had too many coaches in their non-conference slate just try to get wins. You know, these teams that are 12-0 going into the conference slate, and then they finish 7-9, but they have 22 wins, and they think they should be in the NCAA tournament, and they don't go. Frank Martin is not one of those guys that believes that. Darren Horn was one of those guys that would pad up on Sisters of the Poor, and towards the end he wasn't even beating those guys. But Frank Martin, now you've got Iowa State in Brooklyn on January 3rd. We know they're going to play Oklahoma State and Columbia on December 6th. That's part of the Big 12 SEC Challenge. They have Baylor in a return game from last year's matchup in Waco next season. Of course, they have the annual matchup with Clemson. That's going to be a home game this year in Marshall. And the Gamecocks are going to be in the Holy City for the Charleston Classic November 20th through the 23rd. Iowa State was 28-8 last season. They won the Big 12 tournament and went to the Sweet 16, so that's a solid program.
Yeah, and of course that goes back to his Big 12 days. That's one of his opponents, Iowa State, with the mayor. I think Fred Hoiberg's still there. I know he toyed with the idea of going to the NBA. Didn't the Timberwolves kind of make a play for him? But he's going to stay at Iowa State. Mm-hmm. I think the key is, if you have a team which is rebuilding and you got a lot of youngsters on it, and you think there is no chance no chance to make the NCAA tournament. That particular year, you used Cupcake City just to build some confidence. Then you got to fortify your schedule. The SEC, the interesting thing about the SEC, and this is key, they got to win some of those non-conference games. Plus, they got to figure out that I don't care what anybody says, and I know Mike Morgan and I had this argument on the air one time, because of the money being doled out by the NCAA, especially with all the credence given to the SEC in football, they're going to find a fly in the ointment. If it's an SEC team sitting there and there's a team at the bottom of the American Conference and they say, well, which one are you going to take? They're going to take the American Conference team because of the money involved. The SEC can't be good at everything, my goodness. But that's why I think on these non-conference games, they're going to start winning some of them, especially on the other team's court.
Yeah, and Frank Martin, even last year when he had a very young team, they didn't shy away from playing some pretty tough non-conference games. You know, they played Manhattan last year. That was a tournament team. They went out to Baylor, a tournament team. Now, the Oklahoma State game in Stillwater was part of the SEC Big 12 Challenge, but he believes in testing his players, and towards the end of the year, they were playing better. And I think basketball is going to have a nice little uptick in our state here over the next couple of seasons. I think Frank Martin's going to start winning more games there. I think Brad Brownell has proven himself. He's about to get a new contract. All those people that wanted to run him out of town, funny, we don't hear from them anymore now that people realize that, hey, he actually knows how to coach a little bit.
Well, I thought it was great. That Sunday, you know, the turning point in his tenure at Clemson just might be that Sunday after church game. Even he was shocked at the crowd response for that basketball game, and that may have showed they turned the corner, because you heard people saying, well, it's brand of basketball, this sort of thing. Well, I don't care what brand you're talking about. If you're winning in the ACC, you gotta give the kids their due, give them their props that this is a product that's winning. And it'll be interesting to see how he carries it off, especially losing McDaniels.
It was very interesting how the Clemson fans didn't discover that team until, I think, that game almost. You know, their final regular season game, Korn was talking about how the crowd was terrible, and they were on the bubble down the stretch, you remember, and people just weren't behind them. But they realized that they play a pretty exciting brand of basketball. Now, losing KJ McDaniels will be tough, and McDaniels is in Chicago. He's going through workouts, did some today. We'll go through some more tomorrow, and he's looking to be a first-round draft pick potentially in the NBA draft. And I was watching a workout video of him, and boy, his outside shot in the video, and it wasn't edited. He was taking shot after shot after shot from three and knocking him down. He really has improved his shooting over the past couple of seasons, no doubt about that. So they're going to have to replace him on both ends of the floor. He was really a dynamic playmaker on the defensive end and developed his offensive game. But I like what Brad Brownell's doing. He recruits guys that fit his system, develops guys, and certainly showing that he's going to be able to get it done at Clemson. Let's update the NCAA golf regionals. They continue. We've got a few teams involved there. Now, the top 10 teams advance to the championship round. Clemson is out in the Sugar Grove regional, and the Tigers in good shape right now. They're in 5th place at 20 over par. UAB is the leader in that regional at 7 over par. USC is playing in the Eugene, Oregon regional, and the Gamecocks are in 4th place at 17 over par. Stanford is leading that regional at 1 under par. College of Charleston also in position to advance. They are in 8th place at 5 over par right now. They're playing in the San Antonio regional. And those are the teams that I see in the top 10 of their respective regionals right now. So we'll see if they can all advance to the championships.
That would be interesting. Of course, the USC golf team has been a resurgence. Larry Penley's team, you pretty much pencil them into the NCAA championships every year for the last, 3 decades now, or close to it.
Yeah, he's done a heck of a job there, and South Carolina has been developing their program as well. Golf strong in this state. Coastal Carolina has an outstanding program. The College of Charleston, just mentioned them. Furman, has both the men's and women's golf. Furman might be known as much, if not more, for their women's golf program, which almost got the axe for financial purposes, but I think it was given a stay of execution up there.
Miss Daniel and a few other the noted alumni in golf kind of pulled out the checkbooks.
Yeah, I mean, you don't cut your golf program that's been that outstanding. It's tough though. These athletic departments, we all think they operate with blank checks, but some tough decisions have to be made sometimes. But I'm glad they made the right decision to keep that golf program going. All right, in the NBA playoffs, we're down to the conference finals now. No big surprises, and it's just rematch city right now. We've got Miami and Indiana meeting in the Eastern Conference Finals, and we have Oklahoma City and San Antonio meeting in the Western Conference Finals. Bad news for Oklahoma City as Serge Ibaka is out.
There's your enforcer, your shot blocker.
I really like his game. Yeah.
Last year
tough.
it was Westbrook. This year it's Ibaka. They can't get into the playoffs without a debilitating injury because, let's face it, every team is banged up this time of year, but at least you can come out there and play. Ibaka apparently is incapacitated and won't be able to play. And that is the linchpin of their strong defense, because when you can play aggressively up on the ball handlers, knowing that you got an enforcer in the back end, you play much better defense out front, and they're not able to do that. Now, may see them maybe play a little bit more zone.
Yeah, and I don't count Oklahoma City out because they have Kevin Durant, who is capable of taking over any game at any time. You have Westbrook, who's capable of shooting you in or out of a game, depending on the day and the time. But those two can carry a team through a series. And San Antonio, if they were a big market team, if that team was in New York or Los Angeles or Chicago, we'd be talking about one of the all-time great dynasties. What they've done there in San Antonio with those since the day Tim Duncan walked in the door, they've just been good. And it's not just because of him. They've built guys around them with Parker and all these other cats. But man, they're on their way perhaps to another finals. Braves back in action tonight, getting a taste of those Midwestern values in St. Louis. Hopefully to get back on track. Mike Morgan joins us now. Atlanta really had a bad series in San Francisco, bad ending to that series in San Francisco, and they'll get a tough matchup tonight, a tough weekend series, Mike, with the Cardinals.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue this will be the toughest six-game stretch of the year when you go 3 at San Francisco, 3 at St. Louis, two teams that we could possibly, at least one of them, see in the World Series. They both have that kind of roster, that kind of ability, and that kind of track record here in the last few years. So, yeah, you lose 2 out of 3 at San Francisco. It's hardly something you got to feel too bad about because a lot of teams are going to do that. You try and step it up here and beat a St. Louis team that certainly has had your number the last couple of years. The good news is no Adam Wainwright, so you get a chance to avoid one of the top pitchers in Major League Baseball, and we'll see how the Braves do today with Santana towing the rubber.
I see that once again Simmons is in the lineup, and we don't have not Pasternicky's in for Dan Uggla. Is it safe to say Dan Uggla's time as a starter is now over?
I thought it was going to be over back in March. I thought they'd give Dan Uggla one more shot at it, but it's a 3-year sample size. It's been 3 years of ineptness at the plate, and I don't think you can keep going back to that well, even with the guaranteed money out there. You try and trade him, good luck. It's going to be very difficult unless you offer to pay the overwhelming majority of his salary wherever he goes, almost like a Derek Lowe type deal when he went to Cleveland. But I don't expect to see Dan Uggla much. I think in the meantime he's going to be an off-the-bench guy, and it's either going to be Pasternicky or Ramiro Pena playing at second.
Again, the Braves with the reclamation projects, but you can't really call them a reclamation project, but any explanation why Urban Santana was still out there for the Braves to pick up sort of late in the game at this point, the way he's pitching right now?
Yeah, Santana was pretty good in Kansas City. The thing is, it was in Kansas City, so it's if a tree falls in the woods and nobody's there, you get the idea. I was surprised they didn't get him. This is supposed to be the new look Kansas City Royals where they actually spend money, but they didn't. Now, Santana has had some off years as well going back to his days in Anaheim, so he's not money in the bank as a frontline starter, but he has shown signs, and to me, to get him in the 11th hour when you had that desperate need after 2 guys go out for the season, I thought that was a major pickup. I don't think people were talking about it enough. And surely he has pitched extremely well in Atlanta, as all guys seem to do when they wind up in the Braves organization.
Tehran, that start in San Francisco, is there anything to worry about? It seems like he was talking about the grip, and I know that was something that he said happened in the series with the Dodgers in the postseason. Is there anything beyond just one bad day to chalk up that?
I think it's one bad day. He had 8 starts before that. They were all quality starts, so he was easily the best pitcher for Atlanta, the most consistent guy. I think you give him one day to have a bad one against a decent hitting team in a tough ballpark where they play very well. I wouldn't make much of it. I think Tehran will be back, and I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking about Julio Tehran, a month and a half from now as an all-star.
Speaking of Julio's, did you see where Julio Franco is going to the Independent League? Anytime that the Braves may give him a call as a utility.
Well, I guess you could have AARP pay his salary at this point, right? It wouldn't even count on your payroll. But I don't know. Franco's got to be around 50 at this point in time. It's amazing that guy. What he was able to do in his 40s, and the way his body still looked in his early 40s was simply incredible. So he could probably give you a few base knocks now, probably give you more than Dan Uggla's doing. Unfortunately, he can't play second base.
Man, poor Dan. All right, Mike, I know you're branching out. You're in Lubbock doing some track and field this weekend?
Yeah, man. Big 12 Championships doing that this weekend, and then I'll head straight to Hoover for another SEC tournament, my 15th. And we'll be calling 4 days of games there, so looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, should be some great baseball. All right, enjoy the track and field, and we'll catch up with you Monday.
You got it, guys.
All right, Mike Morgan, our Braves report, brought to you by Whit Suber of Home Shop Realty, where you pay less for more. Call 803-518-38 8-8. The Braves taking on the Redbirds in St. Louis. Always tough to go to St. Louis, to Busch Stadium, with their rabid fans and beat the Cardinals.
And remember now, the reason why it got the name Busch Stadium, and the new Busch Stadium has that, is because they told the former owners, you can't name that stadium Budweiser because you can't name it after a beer. So they say, okay, I'll name it after me, Busch, and then they produced the Busch beer. Say, now take that.
What's up? Always finding an angle. Well, the Gamecock softball team having a rough go of it in the NCAA softball regional opening round. It looks like they're in Tallahassee.
They're FSU.
And they're getting blown out right now by South Florida, 6-0 in the 7th. So, barring a pretty remarkable comeback in the bottom half of this inning, the Gamecocks are going to fall into the losers bracket there in the Tallahassee region.
Yes, it's a double elimination, but for them to just make the SEC tournament, I think in the last series of the regular season, they're just scratching the surface with this softball program. Of course, the new stadium, which garnered them the SEC tournament, which they were unceremoniously dumped out after the first game, but still, as they say, you got to crawl before you can walk, and the baby is about to stand up. Let's put it that way.
If you haven't seen the pictures floating around, we've posted them on our website, SportsTalkSC.com, which, by the way, is a place you should go and visit and cherish and savor each and every day, probably multiple times a day. It's a great way to, kill some productivity at work. Why work when you can check out SportsTalkSC.com?
That's what I do.
Head over to the website and check out a couple of pictures that are floating around the World Wide Web of a dog up in the upstate that has been painted like a tiger. The stripes and everything. I don't know what kind of dog this is. It's a Dalmatian. Are you sure?
Well, I've seen the picture. It doesn't look like a Dalmatian to you?
No, the hair's a little longer with the Dalmatian. I think we'd see some of the black spots. It doesn't have any spots. I mean, somebody's painted this thing orange and then put stripes on it. And there's a picture of the dog's posing with Dabo Sweeney in one of the pictures. Sweeney's kneeling down beside this dog. This animal has been spray painted orange with black stripes. He's all in. That is an all-in dog right there. Solid orange dog I'm not sure if Pete is going to chime in and call
No,
that
it's-
animal abuse, but that thing's going viral now. I've seen it on a bunch of websites, national websites. That's a loyal fan and a loyal dog right there. I don't know if that's man's best friend right there to paint
I
your
hope
dog
that
on.
paint is non-toxic.
Yeah. In other
Hopefully.
news, there's a sick dog painted like a tiger in the upstate right now. That's interesting. Is that the new trend now of fandom? You got to paint your animals like the mascot?
Either that or get a tiger.
Get a real tiger.
Yeah,
Yeah, just have it in the backyard.
I remember in another
safe.
lifetime when I was working in Spartanburg, I did a story on a guy. Actually, he was only a few blocks away from the TV station. He had a pet lion in his backyard. I don't think they'll allow that anymore. I asked him where did he get the food for the lion. He said, well, he just waited till the grocery store threw out some of their meat after the days were expiration date were off the meat. That's what he feed the lion.
We got a busy hour coming up. We'll have our full Monty report. It's All-Star Weekend on the Sprint Cup, Nextel Sprint Cup Series. So we'll check in with Monty Dutton, check in on these baseball scores, and a lot more, including recruiting.
To my Robert Mathis? All right, stand by.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornblut, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Hour number 2 of Sports Talk here on South Carolina Radio Network. Kevin McCrary and the Professor Tom Hayes taking you through your Friday. Happy Friday to you. Somehow, some way, we made it to the end of the week. There were times I'm sure we all didn't think we were going to make it, but we did. Our reward is a great weekend.
Well, in 54 minutes.
Well, for us. Hopefully, a lot of our fine listeners are
have made it
already done with work, maybe sitting back. Hopefully, maybe doing a little porching. You ever do any porching? Probably sit down on your porch, watch the sun go down, maybe have a nice cold beverage of choice.
No, by the time I sit down, I watch the eyelids descend among my eyeballs.
Let's update some baseball. Clemson is underway at Doug Kingsmore Stadium. They're scoreless in the second inning. The Tigers won yesterday, of course, 8-4. 3 home runs for Clemson in that game, which is a little different for them to have 3 homers, but the Tigers needed that win for a lot of different reasons. They're all important at this time of the year, but they needed that to make sure they're in the ACC tournament next week. So we know Clemson is in.
Mm-hmm.
What their seed is going to be remains to be seen. Now they have some stuff to play for there, because if you are a 7, 8, 9, or 10 seed, you have to play on Tuesday to get into the tournament, a win-or-go-home game. If you're higher than that, if you're a top 6 seed, then you're in automatically, and you're going to be into that pool play. And I'm pretty sure this is the last year of the pool play. I thought last year was the last year of the pool play, but I'm 99.9% sure. If I'm wrong, somebody point this out. But I think they're going to go to a regular tournament like they do in
double elimination
Hoover, like they do in the College World Series, and that's the way it should be. This pool play, I've not been able to wrap my brain around it yet, and I will say good riddance to it this year in Greensboro.
If the fans can't understand it, or they have to have a refresher course every year, it probably is not going to be a good thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, there are some good things about it. The fact that you're guaranteed 3 games, unless you're in that playing game and lose, and you only get 1. You know exactly when you're going to play. There's 3 games every day, so there's an 11 o'clock game, there's a 3 o'clock game, there's a 7 o'clock game. It's easier to stay on schedule, although ultimately you're going to run behind schedule if there's weather and there's an extra inning game or there's a bunch of pitching used in a game. But there's a built-in day off, so you can set your pitching, and so those are the advantages. But I think the advantages are outweighed by the disadvantages in that, and pool play is not as good as doing your regular bracket play that you see in Hoover and you see in the College World Series. The College World Series doesn't do pool play for that reason. It's easier to wrap your brain around.
And part of a double elimination tournament is attrition, and your pitching staff getting exhausted is part of the process.
this was the final season of this format, as the tournament will expand to 10 teams beginning in 2014. But that's this year. Is that just an expansion of the teams and not a riddance of the pool play? I remember some kind of talk about it. $30. Trying to put it back in its cage that doesn't exist. Better yet, it was like a post for me on Instagram, Copperhead. Let me hold you for a minute. Oops. Mid-flash bite. All right, stand by.
All right, South Carolina softball team did lose to South Florida in Tallahassee, so they fall into the losers bracket. Back over to baseball. Still no score between Clemson and Boston College as they play now in the bottom of the third inning, actually top of the third inning, and Daniel Gossett on the mound. He's given up a couple of hits. Clemson's committed 2 errors in this game now. In fact, there are runners on second and third with 1 out. So Gossett's going to have to pitch himself out of a jam here in the third inning for the Tigers. Now let's look at some other games in progress. Duke is on top of Florida State 1-0 in the third. If you're Clemson, you need Florida State to beat Duke. Duke, believe it or not, is ahead of Clemson in the standings right now, and again, trying to avoid that play-in game. If you're Clemson, they need to be in the top 6 in terms of the top seeds in that tournament. If not, they're going to be forced in a do-or-die play-in game. Virginia and Wake Forest playing 2 today. The first one in the books. It went 10 innings, and Wake Forest with an upset over number 2 Duke, 6-5. So Wake Forest, another team that Clemson could stand to lose some games, pulls an upset there in game 2, scoreless in the second inning. USC will play at 7:30. What a game last night, again, with South Carolina and Vanderbilt. Both these teams trying to make a case for a top 8 national seed, and the Gamecocks certainly helped their cause with that win. If they can win this series, there are some people that think that'll put them on the inside of the bubble for a top 8 national seed. Right now they're on the outside looking in.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, last night when they started the proceedings, Vandy was actually 7th in the RPI, and South Carolina was 12th. So they're trying to move up into that top 8 RPI. That doesn't automatically mean you're going to be a top 8 seed, but it doesn't hurt. If you're South Carolina, and Vandy still has tremendous hard throwers, they're pitching, but if on the heels of last night, if you can jump on them early and get a 3 or 4 run cush, that could mean all she wrote, because psychologically that had to hurt Vandy to lose that game the way they lost it. And sometimes not often can you carry the momentum of a baseball game within the next night, because they always say momentum is who stands on that mound for you the next day. But it couldn't hurt if South Carolina could get an early lead on Vandy.
Yeah, Jack Wynkoop on the bump for the Gamecocks tonight, and then they'll have Will Crow going on Saturday afternoon. No Max Schrock in the lineup for the Gamecocks tonight, and it doesn't look like he's going to play tomorrow either in the series finale, a 3:30 start time for the Gamecocks indoors tomorrow. Clemson and BC wrap up their series at noon tomorrow. Some in-state action that is in the books. Presbyterian, a 2-1 winner over Gardner-Webb. VMI in the third inning, this one's still in progress. VMI on top of Charleston Southern 7-3. Coastal Carolina lost to Campbell 7-4. Winthrop beat Longwood 4-3. And let's check out the CAA and see how the college is. Am I looking at this correct? Let me click on the live stats here. The College of Charleston is playing William and Mary, and it says it's 1-1, and it says it's in the top of the 19th inning. Yes, and now they're in the 20th inning. How about this? The College of Charleston and William and Mary are playing. It was 1-1 going into the 20th inning. William and Mary scored in the first and didn't score again, and the Charleston Cougars scored in the 7th. And then in the top of the 20th, William and Mary scored, but Charleston has just scored another one to tie it 2-2 in the bottom half of the 20th inning. And this is the second game of this series. So Charleston has a runner on first. That's incredible. A 20-inning game right now with the College of Charleston and William and Mary out there in the Holy City. So fans getting treated to lots of free baseball. 2-for-1 deal for the College of Charleston and William and Mary. So we'll keep our eye on that game. I thought the game tracker was incorrect, so I had to click on the live stats. 20 innings and going strong with the Cougars batting 1 run, or 2 runs each. I'm trying to see how many hits they have, but you can't even see that part of the board right now. But 1 run on 2 hits this inning for the Cougars, and they have an opportunity to win it now with 2 on and nobody out in this inning. So the Cougars could end this thing in the bottom of the 20th inning.
By the way, we were looking at South Carolina losing their first game, and softball, USC Upstate wins at I think they're in Tuscaloosa. They beat South Alabama 5-3, so they go in the winners bracket and probably have to play second-ranked Alabama in the next game on Saturday.
Yeah, good for them. USC Upstate can't count out the Lady Spartans. Do they go by the Lady Spartans, or they just go by the Spartans?
Probably just the Spartans. That's what they usually do now. When you say softball,
Sparta.
See, when you say softball, you automatically know it's women.
They're the Spartas. Yeah, okay. Mentioned KJ McDaniels is at the NBA Combine, and they did the measurables today, and he came up as 6'11". 6'4" was his height. Yeah, I'm looking at his wingspan was 6'11.25". He weighed 195.6 pounds. Measuring him for the NBA Combine, he came up short of 6'5". Officially listed at 6'4.5". I'll tell you what, though, he plays like he's 6'9" out there on the defensive end of the floor.
This is what, with sneakers on, he's barefoot. No, they don't say.
That's just.
Do they have both there? Or?
Yeah, and I'll tell you, if he's 6'4", and again blocking shots the way he does, that's very incredible. He's to me a dynamic guy on an NBA team. He's not going to be a superstar, but one of those guys you like to have on your roster, an energy guy, an electric playmaker that can go out there, be a defensive stopper, and give you a little offense from time to time. We have a little audio of him, why he opted to go into the draft and what he brings to the table and what he's expecting.
I decided to enter the draft because I felt like I was ready to go, and I felt like I did a great job this year leading my team, and I felt like I've learned a lot more over the summer, over the past off season, being energetic, defending, offensive rebounding, shooting, and I'm working on creating for my teammates better. And I feel like I have a few more improvements to do, but those are my strengths. My weakness is just being comfortable dribbling, and being a more confident shooter. I feel like those are my weaknesses, and being a better passer as well. When I came into Clemson, I was already a decent shooter, but I just kept constantly working on my shooting and working on my dribble moves, and they helped me out a lot with that. Oh yeah, I was definitely underrated coming out of high school, but I just kept working hard and just staying humble. I feel like I can bring a lot of energy to an NBA team, defending to an NBA team, offensive rebounding, shooting, and just mostly being an energetic player and defending.
NBA draft next month, June 26th. I would expect you'll hear KJ McDaniel's name called sometime in the first round, probably the middle to end of the first round.
Well, you would think. Here's what's scary about a guy like McDaniels. That's the kind of guy that San Antonio gets. You forget he's in the draft, or you focus too much on what he has to work on instead of what he brings to the table. Then once San Antonio beats you in the playoffs, you wonder why you didn't draft him. I see probably a more athletic, maybe even a better skilled Sean Marion. The Matrix,
and a prettier shot, a much prettier shot.
Yeah, that's what I say.
That is a pretty good. I never thought about that, but that is a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like his game. I don't think he's a lottery guy. Maybe if he were to come back, he could have played himself into a lottery guy. Although if this guy put a jersey on that had Duke on the front of it or North Carolina on the front of it, he'd probably be a lottery guy with the exact same measurables, the exact same skill set. He's at Clemson, so people think, oh well, he's that's not a basketball school, and that he's no superstar. But I think he's a very, very good player, and I look forward to seeing what he does in the NBA. I'm just intrigued with this game now, Pro. I can't stop watching it. It looks like we're going to the 21st inning now, as William and Mary will come up in the top of the 21st.
They got a box score. I want to count how many pitches been used.
2-2. We'll keep an eye on that game. ESPN continuing with its all-in Jadeveon Clowney coverage. Jadeveon went through his first workout with the Houston Texans today. They showed some highlights. It didn't look like he was loafing. It didn't look like he was not giving 100%. That hasn't started yet. Was he giving maximum effort? Was he gassed out there in the
Texas heat?
Yeah, the Houston humidity. Did it get to him? He was out there working out, and we'll see what's going to happen with his career. It's going to have a huge spotlight on it. Obviously, I saw a picture of Sammy Watkins working out in his Bills swag as he begins his career. Two guys from in-state schools in the top 5. We really, we say it over and over again. It's easy to take it for granted. I was just reading a story about Oklahoma State and how they're losing practice time because of their APR 3-year average was too low. But you look at South Carolina and Clemson. They had each put a guy in the top 5 of the NFL draft, the number 1 overall pick. Both schools among the best in the country in the APR. Both schools among the best in the country in terms of the bowl games and their success, 11-win seasons. Unmatched success at the same time.
Isn't it the only state, South Carolina, with 2 teams in the top 10 the last 2 years or something like that? I'm thinking,
pound for pound, South Carolina will put them up against anybody. You can't slow down South Carolina. These 2 schools doing it on the field and off the field. Some teams, they have success and they cut corners. They do what they have to do to get it done. They struggle academically. They have major issues off the field or major infractions not happening. Hey, speaking of infractions, you remember when Auburn couldn't play in a bowl game in 1993 because the NCAA banning them from the postseason for NCAA infractions? Well, Auburn today, they went ahead and said, you know what, 1993, we were national champions. We're going to go ahead and call dibs on a national championship. They added 3 national championships to their repertoire. One in 1993, one in 1913, and I believe the other one was 1983.
Better put an asterisk next to that one.
They're not putting any asterisks next to them. They're claiming them. So I guess it begs the question: what else? I mean, who else is going to start claiming things now? Steve Spurrier already claimed the Gamecocks as the bowl champions. Maybe they should get a trophy.
Why'd they skip 04 is the real question.
That's a very good question. I thought the same thing because that was an undefeated season where they were bowl eligible. To me, you could make a thin argument, but an argument nonetheless, probably a better argument for 2004, where they did get jobbed by the BCS system that year and they finished undefeated. But you just can't retroactively go back and say, yeah, you know what, we were national champions in 93. Now, the other ones, I get the fact that the way national championships were awarded, especially then when it was just voting, it was very arbitrary, it was mythical championships, and they say, hey, we're going to go ahead and say we were the best team that year. But in 1993, so now I guess under this, you can have Terry Bowden can say he's a national champion coach. He can put himself in the Steve Spurrier, the Lou Holtz category as winning a national championship, according to Auburn. Trying to find out the NCAA record for the longest game, the most innings in a game. Let's see, hits. It's hits in an inning. Looking for the longest baseball game in college history. So see if I can figure that out. I say this because we are watching the College of Charleston and the William and Mary game. Now move on to it looks like we're going to the top of the 22nd inning, 2-2. Again, this one was not at 1-1 after 9. And then in the top of the 20th inning, William and Mary played it a run, and then the Cougars matched it, and nobody scored in the 21st inning. And you would think that the pitching would be getting so thin now that some people would start having a little more action in terms of offensive production, but not happening right now. 2-2 as they go to the 22nd inning.
The longest game in NCAA history, 25 innings between Texas and Boston College in 2009.
All right. So how many? 25? So
yep, 2009.
We are closing in on a record right there if they can just go a few more innings. So maybe maybe they're looking at the record book and the coaches are winking at each other. Okay, let's just mess around a little bit.
Somebody groove one. Somebody throw a wild pitch.
This thing, I wonder what time this game started, around 1 maybe this afternoon, earlier this afternoon. But goodness gracious, that is quite the matchup there in the Holy City. So we'll keep our eye on that. At Doug Kingsmore Stadium, BC on top of Clemson 3-1. The Tigers have 3 errors in this game. They don't have a hit, and they have 3 errors. They have scored an unearned run, so it's 3-1. 1-0-3 for Clemson. That's a line that you don't like to see. 3-4-1 for the Eagles. So this has been a pretty ugly game. 4 errors, and we've only played 3.5 innings there. But we'll see if Clemson can rally. You never like to order a sweep up, but this is a game that Clemson needs to win. They have their ace, the reigning ACC player of the week, on the mound. Pretty important for the Tigers to get this win this series, and win this game.
And, of course, their defense has haunted them in a few games in which they've not been able to crank up their offense, and you don't especially want to play shoddy defense when you got your ace on the mound. That's definitely a no-no.
Yes. All right, and USC and Vanderbilt getting started here as we speak. Top of the first inning. They're underway in just a few minutes up in Nashville, so we'll keep our eye on that game as the Gamecocks trying to win that series with a victory tonight. They can do so and help solidify their cause in the battle for a top 8 national seed. We're trying to get Monty Dutton on for our full Monty segment. They are racing in Charlotte this weekend. It's the All-Star weekend. I was reading that Dale Jr. was the fastest in practice, so we'll see what happens during All-Star weekend. You know, I've been to an All-Star race. Pretty cool, actually, to go. Now, they tweak the format every year. I don't know what the actual format is this year, but somebody gets voted in, and they have different sessions. But it was actually much more preferable to me than the Coca-Cola 600 when you're there for 500,000 years watching them race. It's a lot more controlled.
Now, as far as guys who drive for the same team, do they still help each other out? Since it's an all-star race, you can just go willy-nilly and just drive for yourself? How do they do that?
I think you just we say teams. Nobody ever really helps anybody out that much. It's every man for himself at the end of the day.
Well, I mean, once you know you're out of it, don't you help your guy draft or block some people from taking the front, and that sort of thing, Little strategic ways they kind of help their guy out.
Yeah. Let's see. We got an email in, talkback@sportstalksc.com. Jeannie says that picture on the website that we posted is going everywhere now. You might have seen it by now. If not, go to sportstalksc.com and check it out. of a dog that is painted like a tiger that actually is making the rounds in the upstate. Dabo Sweeney posed with it up at Death Valley in the football offices today. She says it looks like a Labradoodle.
That'd be a mix, obviously.
Well, it's not just, that's like a crossbreed, I guess, between a Labrador and a Poodle. Okay, I'll take her word for it. I think sounds like somebody that's in the know there. A Labradoodle. Probably, it looks like an expensive dog. It doesn't look like the Heinz 57s. No, it wasn't a mutt. Yeah, no, these are a Labradoodle is actually specifically bred to be a Labradoodle. It's not like you just put a lab and a poodle didn't get separated. They're actually a breed of dogs that people want.
Oh, okay.
They request those.
This not done in a petri dish, is it?
I don't. That's a good question. That's a very good question. Let's see, what else did I want to mention here? Oh, here's a story that we can talk about. We haven't mentioned yet. We did earlier in the week talk about the Michael Sam situation, getting drafted by the Rams, and his whole deal. It's been intriguing to follow, and I'll say this: this latest story, Michael Sam has lost some points with me now that word that he's going to do a documentary about his quest to make an NFL team. The Oprah Network apparently is doing this, and he knew about it for a while, and they apparently didn't disclose it to all the powers that be. The Rams had no idea about this. The NFL claims it didn't, although there's a reporter from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch that says the NFL knew about the idea and didn't tell any of the teams about it. Either way, it's not a good thing. I don't know if you're Michael Sam, you don't want to draw attention on yourself. And I'm not saying this just because of him coming out in his sexuality. Any player. I mean, if Cam Newton said, you know what, I'm going to have a documentary about me going on during training camp, guys, just so you know, how would that go over with his teammates? If anybody did it, think about the guys that have done documentaries in the past. Terrell Owens, let's see, Chad Ochocinco. I mean, these are guys that don't have the best reputation, the guys that are doing these documentaries. So Michael Sam is now putting himself in that category, and reality TV is anything but real. So though, you wonder, are things going to be staged? And then it makes you go back, now that we know this, and you go, well, wait a minute now. How real was that moment that we saw on ESPN? Now, it looked real to me, and I never had any reason to doubt it. It very well might have been, but this just calls it into question. You go, because I didn't go back and see the cake in the mouth part, when they were putting cake. Did you see that part, Pope?
No,
I only saw the brief part, but then I saw other highlights where they were showing him and his boyfriend, and that was a little over the top. And not that it disgusted me, and I'm like, what am I going to do with the kids? It's like, well, they don't need to show all that. Now you're just being over with extra, as my kids like to say. You're being extra.
I thought the initial, when he got the phone call, that was real.
It looked real.
If they're not, they need to be in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Have they disclosed the contract numbers for what he's getting for the deal with Oprah?
No, I haven't seen any numbers.
And I think that's another key to this. The other guys did their little spiels as far as reality TV, but they didn't have the anointing of Oprah on it. This will be interesting to see how she treats it, or how she has her people treat it, because I would think probably she'll try to be as tasteful as possible with this. But it's still,
these documentaries, even the good ones, there are stage scenes in them. I don't like. Sam's camp says that none of the filming will take place at the Rams headquarters or during practice time. That means the Rams won't have to decide whether they allow that's Oprah's network, cameras into their place of business. But Michael said, just focus on playing football right now, and let's let the story be the story, and don't continue to feed it. I don't like it. I was joking. The Rams should bring back Richie Incognito for the documentary. We'll see how it all plays out. I'd probably tune in to see the Richie Incognito Michael Sam reality show. Make them live together like roommates. Just see what happens. Turn the cameras on. That's the world we live in.
Or maybe because Sam is a tweener, this is his fallback position if he's cut. You never know.
talking about Troy Aikman and Michael Irvin? You talking about Troy Aikman and Michael Irvin? I thought you were talking about coming out after the career was over. That was your boy, what's his name from Skip Bayless, right? Apparently, according to TMZ, they've been recording the show for weeks now, so I wouldn't be surprised at all if that was all a nice little thing. All set up with cameras and makeup and oh. Yeah, 2 more. Yeah, first pitch was scheduled at 2, K-Mac. Five hours, 45 minutes ago.
Vandy strikes in the bottom of the first inning. Run on 2 hits for Vanderbilt here, and they have the bases loaded now. So they have 3 hits in the inning now. So Jack Wynkoop not off to a good start for the Gamecocks. 1 out, bases loaded, 1-0 Vanderbilt. So not a good start for South Carolina in Nashville. Meanwhile, Clemson still trailing at home against Boston College 3-1. Bottom of the 4th inning. The Tigers batting. Jay Baum at the plate, 2 on, first and second with 2 out for the Tigers. And the College of Charleston and William and Mary looks like they are in the bottom of the 21st inning right now. It might be going to the top of the 22nd even. Still 1-1. We'll see if that one. It started at 5 o'clock, so they're going on almost 6 hours in that game. 2? 2 o'clock start time. The current Powerball jackpot is $100 million. Be sure to purchase Power Play for an extra $1 for a chance to increase your winnings. Now, from the Powerball to the Powerball of recruiting, USC picked up a commitment this afternoon from offensive lineman Josie Milton, 6'3", 290 out of Clinton, Louisiana. He committed to USC this afternoon. He had over 20 offers, including ones from Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Arkansas, Arizona State, Oklahoma State, South Florida, and Southern Miss. Earlier this month, Milton said USC planned to play him at the center position. Other offers, I'd mentioned his long list of offers, a few of them. He's the 11th commitment for the Gamecocks 2015 class. He's the 4th commitment in the past 8 days for the Gamecocks' second offensive lineman to commit. Linebacker Ricky DeBerry Jr. out of Richmond had planned to visit USC over the weekend, but he said today he's not coming. He's going to wait until later this summer to visit the Gamecocks. USC is one of 20 schools DeBerry is considering. Clemson also is on his short list. He'll cut his list to 8 this summer after he visits more schools. He has said Virginia Tech, and North Carolina are the only ones that he's certain about for his final 8. Some of the others on his list are Alabama, Auburn, who added 3 national championships today. That's got to maybe factor into this kid's. Oklahoma, Ohio State, Nebraska, Florida, and Southern Cal. 6'1" point guard Ty Hudson out of Mableton, Georgia, is going to make an unofficial visit to Clemson Monday. He's going with his mother. Hudson has an offer from Clemson along with Kansas State, UAB, Mercer, Kennesaw State, Houston, Western Kentucky, and Virginia Tech. He's not narrowed his list. Right now his only visits have been to UAB. Hudson is excited about the offer from Clemson. Says he sees a lot of reasons why he could choose the Tigers. USC and Alabama are 2 of the favorites for offensive lineman Brandon Sandifer as we head back to football. He's 6'3", 326 out of Warner Robins, Georgia. That remains the case as the spring evaluation period heads towards the finish line. Both have been through this spring, as have recruiters from Clemson, Georgia Tech, Nebraska, and Florida State. He says Kurt Bakken and him are pretty close, and they're pushing pretty hard. Sandifer has visited USC, Clemson, Georgia Tech, Alabama, Louisville, and Florida State. He'll go to some camps this summer. Won't make a decision until after his official visits. He plans to be a guard in college. Linebacker Tyler Cooksey or Cooksey?
Cooksey.
Cooksey? I'm going with Cooksey. 6'3", 220 out of Norcross, Georgia. Several offers waiting for him. One in particular could come soon. Cooksey, whose mother graduated from Clemson, grew up a fan of the program, and is very hopeful that an offer will be extended. The Tigers won't have much time to do so because he plans to commit in July. He has 16 offers. He's going to narrow that list soon. Cooksey has visited Clemson twice, including the spring game. He said he was grateful for that experience. Among his offers, Tennessee, Texas A&M, Mississippi State, North Carolina, NC State, and Georgia Tech, along with Northwestern, Wake Forest, Central Florida, Alabama, Birmingham, and Iowa. No favorite. There it is, recruiting. If you want more, check out SportsTalkSC.com, where this very recruiting report will be posted in its entirety for you to read, savor, and enjoy. And Corum Loop will continue updating the recruiting as we move throughout the weekend and into next week.
And I know Corn gets kicking and screaming and dragging if he has to pull in women's basketball recruiting. But I think it's interesting to add this note that we knew that the dynamic freshman out of North Carolina, Diamond DeShields, is getting ready to transfer from North Carolina. And apparently the word is, if you read some of the websites or whatever, she will be visiting South Carolina Sunday and Monday. Now,
Tennessee's a team to beat,
come
I
on,
think.
Don. Now, you're supposed to be fielding a Gamecock basketball team, not an all-star team, but apparently if the girl wants to come to South Carolina, I guess it's Tennessee and
they have a scholarship.
Georgia, they have a scholarship. This will be very interesting indeed.
Got hot dogs and hamburgers waiting on me. Yeah. Probably the one time I didn't want to, huh? Yeah, go ahead and do that.
Top of the 23rd, by the way, College of Charleston, the most intriguing story that I've followed all day.
And you said they got another.
They're supposed to play a doubleheader, apparently. This is game one of the doubleheader. So I don't know if they're going to – they might be there all night at this point. They've already played a doubleheader and then some. They're going on their third game right now. They're going to play a 3-game series in one day. Let's update the other baseball games. Clemson and BC heading to the middle of the 5th inning, 3-1 BC. And USC, a 4 spot for Vandy in the bottom of the first. They're still batting.
Wow.
So Jack Wynkoop has been touched up for 5 hits and 4 runs in the top of the first inning. 4 runs for Vanderbilt. That is like 40 points in football right there.
Vandy got angry for that game being stolen from them last night.
Stolen. Yeah, they came out very upset. Hey, if you want more out of your education, Palmetto College offers the quality of a 4-year education online. To find out more, visit palmettocollege.sc.edu. With Palmetto College, your future has no limits. All right, we've got the golf that I mentioned, USC in good shape to advance in the regional round. You've also got, they're in 4th place, by the way, in the Eugene Regional. Clemson is in 5th place in the Sugar Grove Regional, and the College of Charleston is in 8th place in the San Antonio Regional. So all of them are in pretty good shape to advance to the next round. I think they play
3 rounds.
I think they play one more round
3
tomorrow.
rounds,
Yeah.
and the top 10 go to the championship round. Where is it this year? You remember?
I do not know. That is a very good question. Not sure where they're going to have it this year, but hopefully we'll have at least 3 teams in there. The Braves and Cardinals get started shortly after we sign off. 8:15 first pitch there. Irvin Santana on the mound. He'll face Lance Lynn of the Cardinals. The Braves trying to get back on track after dropping 2-3 in San Francisco.
This just in. Breaking news from ESPN. Michael Sam's show on the Oprah Network has been postponed.
Good. They were listening on iHeartRadio. I think Michael Sam and his camp were listening. The backlash, it was predictable, and that scares you. You wonder what kind of people got to him, and it's just like leave him. Well, I mean, who got to him before? Yeah, Jeff Fish and the Rams said, "Do you want to make this team, or do you want to be a Oprah star?"
Or just tell him, look, this is great and all. They can shoot video, not around our camp. And why don't you release the show if you make the team after the season? You know?
Don't do a reality show. Be a football player. Be who you want to be. Be you, but don't be it on reality. Nobody worth anything does reality TV. Let's face it. Name one reality star that you like. Anybody?
Anybody?
Pope says Duck Dynasty.
Duck Dynasty. Okay.
Okay. Well, name one that you like. I'm still waiting for it.
Warehouse 13.
We'll be back together on Monday. Have yourself a great weekend. For Pope, for Pro, K-Mac here. Have a great Friday night.